Picture this. A couple earning over $130,000 a year. On paper, they're in the top 25% of households in America. They should be thriving. Vacations, savings, security. Instead, they're drowning. One car repair sends them into debt. 2 paychecks, and they still feel broke. How is that possible? This is the paradox millions of families face today. The cruel truth is that 2 incomes don't always mean more wealth. In fact, they often mean more fragility. Economists call it the 2-income trap, a system that looks like prosperity but hides financial quicksand. And if you've ever looked at your combined income and thought, we make too much money to feel this broke, then what I'm about to show you will change how you see your finances forever. We've all been told the same story since childhood. Study hard, get a good job, marry someone with a good job, and together you'll live comfortably. 2 incomes, 2 paychecks, twice the security. It sounds like the perfect formula for success, but let me tell you a story that flips that belief upside down. Imagine a young couple. Let's call them Maya and Arjun. Maya works in marketing, Arjun in IT. Together, they earn over $130,000 a year. That puts them in the top quarter of households in America. On paper, they should be thriving. Vacations in Bali, maxed out retirement accounts, a cushion of savings. But here's the reality. They're stressed, exhausted, and one unexpected car repair away from financial chaos. Their combined income looks impressive, yet they're living paycheck to paycheck. And the cruelest part, they did everything right. Degrees, careers, marriage, a home in a good school district. They followed the script society handed them and still ended up broke. This isn't just their story, it's the story of millions of families. The myth of the 2-income household is one of the biggest financial illusions of our time. On the surface, it feels mathematically obvious. If one person making $50,000 can support a family, then 2 people making $50,000 should mean an extra $50,000 left over for savings, investments, and building wealth. That's just basic addition, right? But here's the twist. That math doesn't exist in the real world. What actually happened is one of the greatest bait and switches in modern economic history. Economists call it the 2-income trap. And it's not just a catchy phrase. Research shows that families with 2 working parents are actually more likely to go bankrupt than single-income families from 50 years ago. Think about that for a second. 2 paychecks, twice the effort, and yet more fragile than ever. It's not because these families are irresponsible. It's because the system itself is rigged to consume every extra dollar they earn. Here's the reality. When both parents work, costs rise. Housing prices climb because banks approve bigger mortgages based on combined salaries. Childcare becomes a necessity, draining thousands every year. Commuting doubles, eating away at time and money, and exhaustion leads to convenience spending, delivery, cleaners, takeout. The second income doesn't build wealth, it gets absorbed into survival. Families think they're richer, but in truth, they've lost their safety net. They've burned their backup plan just to keep up with the basics. So the myth is clear. 2 incomes should mean prosperity. The reality? 2 incomes often mean vulnerability. And if you've ever looked at your combined salary and wondered, why do we feel broke when we earn so much? You're not alone. You're standing in the middle of the 2-income trap. To really understand the 2-income trap, we need to rewind the clock. Let's go back to 1970. Picture a typical middle-class family. One parent, usually the father, worked a steady job. The other parent, usually the mother, stayed home, managing the household. And here's the shocking part. That single income was enough. Not barely enough, but truly enough. One paycheck could cover a home, healthcare, food, a car, and even leave room for savings and vacations. Families had margin. They had breathing room. And most importantly, could step into the workforce. That second potential income was like an insurance policy, a reserve that could be activated in emergencies. Fast forward to today. The world looks completely different. Female workforce participation has skyrocketed. In fact, in most families, both parents work. The 2-income household has become the default, not the exception. But here's the twist. What used to be the emergency backup plan is now the baseline requirement. Families are running at full capacity all the time, with no reserve left to absorb shocks. And that's where the trap begins to tighten. Now let's talk about costs. Because this is where the illusion of progress shatters. Yes, household incomes are higher today than they were in 1970. Adjusted for inflation, families are technically earning more. But look at what happened to expenses. Housing costs have doubled relative to inflation. Healthcare spending has exploded by over 600%. Childcare, which barely existed as a major expense in the single-income era, now drains $15,000 per child per year, and in expensive cities, that number can hit $30,000. College tuition, up more than 1,200% since 1980. The fixed costs of being middle class have ballooned far faster than wages. Think about it this way. Every dollar of that second income got absorbed. Instead of creating wealth, it simply allowed families to keep up with rising costs. The second paycheck didn't buy freedom, it bought survival. And in the process, families burned their safety net. They traded flexibility for fragility. What used to be optional became mandatory. What used to be margin became stress. This is the cruel irony of the two-income trap. Families today are technically richer on paper, but poorer in reality. They earn more, yet they feel less secure. They work harder, yet they have less margin. And the reason is simple. The system expanded to consume both incomes. Housing markets adjusted. Schools adjusted. Healthcare adjusted. Society recalibrated itself around the assumption that every family has two paychecks. And once that became the baseline, one income was no longer enough. The trap had closed. So when you look at your combined salary and wonder why it doesn't feel like prosperity, remember this, you're not imagining it. You're living in a world where the second income isn't a bonus, it's the price of admission to the middle class. And that's the history that explains why millions of families are stuck in the two-income trap today. Let's make this simple. Imagine your partner brings home $50,000 a year. On paper, that looks like a big help. But here's the reality. That money doesn't stay in your pocket for long. First, taxes take a big bite. Because you already earned from the first job, the second paycheck gets taxed at a higher rate. By the time the government takes its share, that $50,000 is closer to $35,000. Next comes childcare. If both parents are working, someone has to look after the kids. Daycare or babysitters aren't cheap. On average, it's about $15,000 per child each year. 2 kids? That's $30,000 gone. Suddenly, that $35,000 is down to just $5,000. But the costs don't stop there. 2 jobs mean 2 commutes. Gas, car maintenance, insurance, parking, easily another $7,000 or more every year. That tiny $5,000 cushion, it's gone. And then there's the hidden cost of being tired. After long days at work, cooking and cleaning feel impossible. Families spend more on takeout, delivery, or hiring help. That's another few $1,000s disappearing without notice. The second paycheck is now worth almost nothing. Think about it. Someone is working full-time, missing family dinners, stuck in traffic, and the household is barely breaking even. That's not progress. That's a trap. Here's the cruel twist. Because the combined income looks big on paper, maybe $120,000 total, families feel rich. Banks approve bigger mortgages, car dealers push 2 loans, schools in expensive districts look appealing. Families make choices based on the illusion of wealth, not the reality of cash flow. And that's how the trap closes. It's not just about losing money, it's about losing freedom. When every dollar of both incomes is already tied up in bills, there's no room for error. One job loss, one medical emergency, one unexpected expense, and the whole system collapses. So the truth is simple. That second income wasn't the blessing you thought it was. It was a mirage. It looked like security, but it locked you into a lifestyle that demands both partners keep working forever. And once you're locked in, stepping back isn't an option. That's the two-income trap in action. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The two-income trap isn't just about money. It's about control. It's about whether you own your life or whether your life owns you. Right now, most families are trapped in a cycle where every dollar is already spoken for before it even arrives. That's not freedom, that's captivity. But there is a way out. And it doesn't start with earning more. It starts with designing differently. I call it the one income foundation. Imagine building your household around just one paycheck. Your mortgage, your car, your essentials, all sized so they can be covered by a single income. That second paycheck? it's no longer survival money. It becomes opportunity money. It becomes the fuel for savings, investments, and buying back your freedom. Think about what that means. Instead of both incomes being locked into bills, one income covers the basics, while the other builds the future. Every dollar of that second paycheck is a soldier in your army of wealth. It goes into an emergency fund, retirement accounts, or investments that compound over time. And compounding is the quiet miracle that turns small sacrifices today into massive flexibility tomorrow. Picture this. 5 years into this strategy, you've built a cushion big enough to handle a job loss without panic. 10 years in, your investments are throwing off income of their own. Suddenly, you're not chained to both jobs anymore. One partner can step back, take a risk, care for family, or simply breathe. That's real security. That's real wealth. Not the illusion of prosperity, but the freedom to choose. Yes, it requires sacrifice. It means driving past the bigger house you technically qualify for. It means saying no to the second car lease. It means resisting the pressure to spend like everyone else. But here's the payoff. You're not just surviving. You're building margin. You're reclaiming flexibility. You're creating a life where one paycheck pays the bills and the other paycheck buys back your options. And that's the ultimate escape from the two-income trap. It's not about having more money. It's about having more freedom. Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't measured by how much you earn. It's measured by how much control you have over your time, your choices, and your future. Now you know the trap. And now you know the way out. The question is, will you keep running at full speed just to stand still? Or will you design a life that finally lets you breathe? The second solution is psychological. Redefine what success looks like. This generation is drowning not just in bills, but in expectations. Social media shows us luxury lifestyles, bigger houses, endless upgrades. Banks and marketers whisper, "You can afford this." But affordability isn't the same as sustainability. The families who escape the two-income trap are the ones who resist lifestyle inflation. They don't size their mortgage to both paychecks. They don't let every raise turn into a new car or subscription. Instead, they treat success as margin, not consumption. Success is having 6 months of expenses saved. Success is investing consistently. Success is being able to step back from work without financial collapse. Here's the mindset shift. Every spending decision is either buying freedom or selling it. That second income can buy status symbols that vanish, or it can buy assets that compound. It can lock you into fragility, or it can unlock flexibility. The choice isn't about how much you earn, it's about how much control you keep. For this generation, redefining success means rejecting the illusion of prosperity and embracing resilience. It means saying, I don't need to look rich. I need to be free. And once you make that shift, every financial decision becomes a step out of the trap. If this video gave you hope, remember, you're not alone. Thousands of us are learning to escape the trap and build real wealth. Subscribe now, drop a like, and share this with someone who needs encouragement today. Let's grow stronger together.